Hello, I'm Lisa, and this is our drawing. In this series, this was a drawing of metal and shiny surfaces like metal. Today we're going to be drawing a pot and a bowl because that's what I had in my house. That's a nice shiny metal surface. We're going to start. We've been talking about in the previous weeks on doing fast thumbnail sketches and quick gestural studies to come up with a good composition. So these are my three. This is my first one. It's just on a piece of paper, Xerox copier paper. So this is my first one, very quickly done. Took me about 2-3 minutes. Just the simple pot and the bowl sitting in the space just to figure out what I'm working with. Then it was a little boring, so I moved it with the pot behind and the bowl in the front, pushing the space where the objects comes really close to the edges. I liked this one, but I thought it was a little static. And then I went to this one where I liked the way the bowl leans over top of the pot and you get some nice dark spaces. So this is the one I've decided I'm going to blow up. So I want you to do the same thing. I want you to do some fast thumbnails and get a good composition. Choose your best one and then blow it up. If you have any questions, you can always email me the images at that point, and we can talk about them. You can come to the help sessions with your images, and we can work on it there. So we're going to take this one, and I'm going to try to hold it so you can see it. It says now I'm going to try to take the basic composition here and blow it up, except that I want to put that handle, which I cut off, into the drawing. So I'm going to push everything over just a little bit. All right, so we're going to start by looking at this and saying, all right, I need to find my ovals, back to ovals when we first started doing the pots at the beginning of the semester, the oval surfaces, two round forms. I need to establish my two big ovals and my two big shapes. So I'm going to start with my pot. Oh, let's look at the still life quickly first before we do that. This is my still life. I set it up for this drawing, so I left it that way. My light source is consistent. My lights in my room can come off, but my light source will always be consistent unless the cat knocks it over. And if you have that problem, kids and cats and pets, always take a photo and take a good photo of some of the details that you're going to end up needing in the end, so that you have a reference if things get moved, which happens a lot. All right, so let's go back over, and I think I'm going to start with this pot, and I'm going to throw, first, I work really fast, and this is called gesture drawing, so I'm going to do some gestural forms here, and I'm going to just try to figure out my oval, how much of that pot am I seeing into it, and where is its edges, and I have my paper towel, this is actually Kleenex, to soften and get stuff out of there. I like that. Now I'm going to find the edges of my pot and bring it down. Yes, that's good. I'm going to try to stay out of your way and draw at an angle. Occasionally I'll have to step into your vision because I need to just see it straight on because I'm drawing from an angle. When you're drawing and it's laying down on a table, or if you're on the floor drawing, if you're on the floor, just stand up. If you're drawing on a table, lay the drawing down on the floor or stand on your chair and get above the drawing so that you can see any distortions and problems, especially here at the beginning steps of your drawing. You really want to get a good feeling for the shapes before you worry about putting any detail. And again, we have to now keep working on this oval and getting it just right. How much of it am I seeing? How much of it am I not? And what I normally do is just do the oval until I get it right. And then I go back and I erase what ends up being a pot, because that bowl is incorporating that space. And I'm not sure about here yet, so I'm going to leave it alone for now and go back to that. Now the thickness of my pot bowl will depend on what feels best for the drawing and what ends up looking good. So my gut instinct says that it's about that wide, and I'm going to make almost like a big half circle and then go back and truncate the bottom a little bit to make it flat. But I'm going to step back here, and I'm actually quite happy with that. That's pretty good. So I'm going to flatten that, soften that right there, and flatten it a little bit, just a little bit, and then round. But we're going to be echoing that shape, so you don't want it too flat because we're going to echo that half round. So now I'm happy with that. I have to decide which line here is correct for me. As you can see, I have two lines, and my gut instinct is both are correct, but I'll show you why. This is the line I'm going to say is in here is all dark. This line I'm happy as being all dark. That's the inside. But this line I'm almost happy with. I'm going to make it a little narrower because every bowl has a lip of some kind, and that's my lip. So I'm going to go back and edit that into my lip, and that's what happened here, and I think that's what works well. It's going to get closer. This is like a perspective thing. It's going to get a little closer here and come in and disappear behind that pot, which is now here, okay? As you can see, it's going to just go under there and disappear. Now this has a lip on it as well, so we might as well start pulling that in. This has a funny lip, but we're just going to give it it's a slightly fatter lip. Again, it has to go thin back here, come around, and echo that shape, and meet the rest of it somewhere in here. And this lip actually has, because it actually has a top that locks down, it actually has one of these, like it goes in, comes out, goes in, comes out, goes in, comes out, almost like a pie crust thing. And we'll play with that if it's needed as we get later into the drawing, because that's the detail that we worry about after we've placed everything. So I'm pretty happy with my pot and my bowl. This might need to be a little rounder if I'm looking at it now. I think I like this outer line better than this inner line. So let's try to see how fat it should be. Yes, that's good. It should not curl. It should come straight. Okay. Then this bowl has an actual weird kind of flat lip right here. That's actually a little flatter than the bowl, and then the roundness of the bowl. So we'll bring it in now just till we indicate it. Now we're going to throw these handles in that I like this one over here. We're going to drag it in. It's going to come in from the side again. It's disappearing around that bend, around that half circle. I think I'm a little low. I'm going to go up a little higher. I'm going to find its basic shape, try to break it down to what is its basic shape. Is it rounded? Is it square? Is it elongated? Try to break it down to its basic shape. And then once you do that, then once you have your basic shape down, then modify it till it works. So I can take the pot out of there because we don't need it anymore, the edge of the pot. I like that top. Now it has a thickness that has to come in like that and go round to the pot. This is going to be all dark, so that can just disappear into the dark. And then this has to disappear around the pot, so it has to echo the roundness of the pot. I think this has to get a little fatter there and disappear around the back. This is going to round up here nicely, just make it look good. You can go back later and mess with it if it doesn't work. And then every handle has an opening. So my opening is here. Truncate it because it's being cut off. I'm seeing only a little bit of the inside and of the handle and the three-dimensionality of it. And that should be a pretty decent handle. That's pretty good. It could be maybe a little fatter. Let's make it a little fatter because it's a pretty chunky, solid bowl pot. It's good for pasta. And then you can start dragging in just the basic shadows where they are. This is all shadow. I'm going to start that just by dragging my vine. Remember, I'm just using vine now, so I can make modifications. Why I have you draw metal is because metal is like the glass, but without the reflectivity or the internal reflecting of the light inside glass. The metal is very reflective. You have these great lights and darks happening. This is the actual space that's being reflected in the roundness of the pot, which makes it look like a round shape. And then this makes it actually look like it's going round again. And another little half round, and these are all lights and darks going on there. There's quite a bit of light going on here. It's actually the fabric being reflected into the pot again. And this is actually a wall, the weight of the wall. And within here is lots of interesting lights and darks going on. And then while we're doing that, we're going to jump out here and see the cast shadow. This is the cast shadow, and I'm just going to basically pull them in as a basic shape, and I'll worry about their tones and what's going on with them later. This is a little bit of fabric wrinkle. I'm just going to throw it in as a line. This is a medium shadow. This is because I have two light sources. I have the window and the lamp. This is a very dark shadow that comes up here and ends around here. Up here then is another shadow that comes off this bowl. It comes off this bowl about here. It actually exists up in there, but you don't have to worry about it because that's the terminal edge of the paper. So we just take it off the paper. It's lighter up here and much darker as it hits the edge of the pot. And again, we'll just indicate that, and we'll come back in after when we start shading. I want to pull that pot edge back up so we don't lose it. We do need to highlight that edge at some point, so I'm going to throw that in there. Because I'm here working, there is a beautiful, bright light source. Got my eraser in my hair. There's a beautiful, bright light right there on the edge of my pot, and it's another one right there, again, reflected light. And on each side of that, they kind of go straight down, these brights. And this one kind of fades out a little more because it's closer to the edge of this half circle. This is very dark, so you can start indicating that's very dark. There's an interesting very dark section here, and then we go lighter, and then we have some interesting lights and darks happening here. And as it's going under this bowl, it's going to get very dark. So we're going to go back into charcoal with this, but we're giving ourselves a basic map to follow. Okay? And I think that's already starts to look a little bit three-dimensional just with the vine. But we never want to finish up a drawing with vine because it's too ethereal. It disappears if you just, you do this and it's gone. So you can't finish a drawing with charcoal. Charcoal is always the beginning medium, not the finishing medium. These are just some interesting little shadows that almost reflect, kind of correspond what's going on inside the pot or on the outside of the pot. Now we're going to get into the bowl. Now in the bowl, because the handle, if you could draw a line, a very light line, the handle is right there. So there is another handle on this side of the pot. All we see though is we see a little bit of it, and we see it disappearing like this into and under that bowl. And this is dark. The whole thing is kind of dark, but right here is probably the darkest dark in your entire drawing. If we get this spot and this spot and this spot correct, it'll be beautiful. And then this is pretty dark right here. Again, we have that reflective edge. I'm going to erase that out of there. That I said there was this kind of half circle. Well, you've got it going on inside because now we're seeing the back of that bowl. So we want to suggest that it's disappearing like we did here. It got narrow. Well, we need to make it get narrow close and widen up here. We want to make sure we don't lose the edge of our pot. So I'm going to put a heavy line back in there so I don't lose it. There's our cast shadow. This is the edge of our pot, our cast shadow. There's a nice dark cast shadow between the two, trapped right there. Beautiful. A nice bright light, a little bit of just crappy color or tone, just throw it in so you know it's like something we need to put there. Maybe even allow it just to get dirty. Sometimes a well-placed fingerprint is all you need. Alright, this is dark. We do got some lights going on here, so we want to be careful that we don't cover them all up We want to protect our brightest brights. Okay, so that's the inside is nice and dark. Now, like we did here where we started to just map out where our lights and darks are, we've got a lot of stuff going on this outer part of the bowl. There is this incredible bright, let's see if I can find it here. There's this interesting section right here, and it goes right around, and it's really bright. Like, remember when we did the egg, and we kind of, from the edge of the egg, and we softly shaded up. Well, this is what this is going to need. It's kind of a little bit bright right here. It gets darker, and then it shades and disappears to a very bright right there. If we get that to work, we will get that sense of metal. That's what we're going to be working on. And then we have another dark, there's a kind of a light, interesting shape right here, almost like a little pool of light. Then we have this nice, really bright, almost cut line of light, and it's a soft on this side, very sharp on this side, very soft on this side, and a nice dark, half dark circle here. It's picking up possibly some kind of cast shadow nicely. And then we get, again, like we did with the egg, this is very much like the egg but darker. We get this nice reflectivity of the wall that's back here in my still life, and it gets lighter here. So we get a dark, we get a light source, we get a dark, and again we get a very subtle light source. And again, we can start doing this with our vine, but we got to move in with charcoal. Is there much we need to do back here? A little bit. We've got this really nice kind of wrinkle, so we can just bring that wrinkle in. And then we have a little bit of stuff going on here with the light source, but this is very light. There's a wrinkle on the fabric again here, and there is a spot where the fabric is going out this way, and where a wrinkle is going that way. We did fabric earlier in this semester, so you should be able to do a little bit of fabric, but that's our kind of our light contrast to our dark. So let's step back and see if we got it. I think we've got it. Now this is our basic contour study of our pot and bowl, and a basic mapping of where we're going to go with our shading. So on our next, so watch this video. You have any questions during this time, you can always email me. Always at any point when we do our drawing sessions, our help sessions, you can bring everything and stop at any point when you're lost and bring it to class, and we'll work on it together. Whatever works for you, let me know. The next video we'll go in with our charcoal, and we'll start shading this.